Alright, what is up guys, it is Storm back here with another video, and in this one I am bringing you part 23 to Mightless, a My Hero Academia story by the Mysterious Banana. Now if you want to check the story out for yourself, the link to it will be down in the description below. But before the video begins, if you like the content you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I mean, they're all free, so why not? If you want some dope channel merch, the link to that will be down in the description below, and if you want to see more of me, go check out my other channels and go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, which will all be linked down below. But without further ado, why don't we just dive right on in. The battle between Todoroki and Sero had shown Izuku that taking down Todoroki will be no easy task. His ice versatility was beyond one's wildest comprehension. However, from what he saw, it seemed that he had one massive weakness, a personal one to boot. He had noticed that throughout the three events, he had never used his fire side even once. But while everyone was taken aback by the massive glacier sprouting out of the arena, he had activated his fire quirk on the entire right side of his body, attempting to regulate his body heat that was covered in bits of ice. So he can't overuse one side of his quirk, and refuses to use his other side to balance himself out. My best course of action then would be to... "Hey Izuku," a voice called out from behind him, snapping him out from his trance. Turning around while hiding his notebook, he met face to face with his brunette friend, Uraraka. But something seemed off about her, which he immediately pointed out. "Oh, hey Ochako, what's with the furrowed brows?" Izuku asked, with a hint of surprise. "Brows? I guess I'm just a little nervous. I didn't know it was that apparent though," she responded. "You've been to the middle of the stadium before, right? What's there to be nervous about?" Izuku asked. "Her opponent's Bakugo, I believe that's the reason," Ida replied, entering the room. "Ah, I see," Izuku said, sitting back down, knowing that with Ida walking in, a long conversation was inevitable. "I guess you are right to be afraid. The dude can't socialize with anyone to save his life, but in terms of combat, he's a natural. But certainly he wouldn't use his explosion quirk on a girl, right?" Ida asked. "You will, definitely. In fact, seeing how often you hang around me, I wouldn't be surprised if he went extra hard on you. Frankly, I feel guilty, because if he hospitalizes you, it's probably going to be because of me," Izuku replied. Uraraka shuddered at his comments. "What's his deal anyway? Why does the guy hate you so much?" asked the brunette. "It's because he's in denial," Izuku said. "Denial?" Ida asked, confused. "I was a late bloomer, so for the vast majority of my life, everyone thought I was quirkless. But my drive of becoming a hero annoyed him. I always represented rock bottom in his eyes, as far down as he can sink. He always thought it would be impossible to sink lower than me. He was hoping to move up in life, graduate Yuuei, and finally leave me in the dust," Izuku started to explain. "So, having you be here, it gives him the feeling that he isn't progressing," Ida finished. "He simply can't accept the fact that I have the ability to progress at an even rate, possibly even higher. He hates me because he can't shake me off. The fact that he's still within my reach, the fact that I'm no longer quivering in fear, the fact that I've changed, is what drives him crazy," Izuku finished as he got up, heading towards the exit. Upon turning the knob, his fist shook a little. "He just won't grow out of it. It sickens me." On that note, he left the room, slamming the door behind him. On his way to the stadium, however, he came face to face once more with Katsuki. "Hey, get out of my way, you shit," he said in his normal aggressive tone, bumping into him aggressively, forcing Izuku off balance. "Still treating me like trash. Typical," Izuku said to himself softly, picking himself off the floor as the match between Kirishima and Tetu had just concluded in a draw. "I'll deal with you next after I'm done with Shoto." Blasts of flames resonated across the stadium. Ochako tried in desperation to even touch Katsuki, only to get sent flying back like a ragdoll each time. All she needed was to touch him once and then float him off the stadium. Izuku watched the whole fight happen from his seat. Everything Katsuki was doing was perfectly expected, but even then, he couldn't help but to bite his lower lip to suppress his anger. After staying in Yuuei for so long, he knew that out of everyone in his class, Ochako had every trait to be a true, legitimate hero, not those arrogant, self-serving pricks that have their names written on Stain's list of targets. Seeing her out there, even for a villain, was gut-wrenching. However, to his confusion, despite Uraraka's desperate charges, he could feel that she had a final plan. He couldn't tell what it was, but he could feel it. Uraraka eventually stopped her charge, taking a stance. Then it hit him. Looking up, tons of rubble was gathered in the sky. She was intentionally letting herself get blown up so that she could use the debris as ammo. Just then, she let down, unleashing a meteor swarm upon Akatsuki. But she made one mistake. She revealed her secret plan before using it. Even though the match wasn't over yet, Izuku knew it had been decided. Getting up, he slowly walked towards the infirmary, where she was most likely going to be sent after the match. Sure enough, a loud boom was heard and Ochako was delivered into the infirmary on a stretcher and in tears. Looking at her broken body, he could only clench his fists in anger, knowing that someone like him can still be qualified as a hero. "Izuku, I lost," she said in pain and tears. "You did your best, Ochako. That's what matters," Izuku replied. I can't face my parents like this, not after what happened," she cried weakly. Images of Endeavor beating Todoroki up as a child flooded in his head. First All Might, then Endeavor, and now Akatsuki. These people actually got away with the atrocities they had done just because they were heroes. It was unforgivable. A voice came out of the intercom behind Izuku, announcing that Kirishima won the tiebreaker, and that the next round between him and Todoroki was starting. The green-haired student shook with excitement, as he could finally bring Endeavor to justice. He knew his anger was only going to get in the way, and knew that he had to let go when fighting on the front line. So he gave Ochako a confronting smile and walked to the stadium. The crowd was radiating with excitement as Izuku walked on stage. You could feel the intensity on stage. Todoroki stood before him, with his eyes poised on beating him. "Both these competitors have been at the top of the festival so far," yelled the announcer. "But there's only one room for these greats in the ring. It's..." Before the announcer finished, Izuku flashed a menacing grin at Todoroki, which legitimately took him off guard. Midoriya versus Todoroki. Looking behind Todoroki, Izuku saw Endeavor, watching the fight with the eyes of a hawk. Him seeing his concerned look only made Izuku more giddy, imagining how he's gonna react to his own son getting pummeled. "Begin!" Immediately, Todoroki fired a massive glacier at Izuku, who, at the same time, fired a massive whirlwind to counter. The two attacks clashed, sending ice shards flying in all sorts of directions. The blast sent both competitors flying back. While Izuku was able to catch himself by quickly creating an air cushion behind him, Todoroki made an ice wall behind him as well, both saving each other from getting knocked out of the ring. The ice boy immediately launched a second glacier at Izuku, not giving him a chance to breathe. The ice covered him from head to toe, encasing him in a glacier noticeably smaller than the one he used against Zero. "Izuku's trapped in ice!" yelled the announcer. Suddenly the ice started to crack, as Izuku busted out of his icy prison, surrounded in a miniature cyclone, before firing several blades of wind at Todoroki, who made another ice wall blocking the blades. He then placed his hand on the broken down ice wall, causing it to expand and grow spikes, shooting straight at Izuku, who took a deep breath and fired back an equally large wind blast. The two attacks collided, creating another huge explosion. "Damn," Ida said in awe, witnessing the battle unfolding before them. "I knew they were strong, but this is on a whole nother level." "No kidding. Both Todoroki and Midoriya are seemingly even," Ochako said. "Even? Don't make me laugh," Akatsuki said with a salty attitude. "Can't you see? All Izuku's doing is suffocating himself every time he attacks. Such strain can be resolved by simply breathing. Meanwhile, look at Todoroki. His right side is covered in ice. He may not look the part, but he's at his limit." Back at the stadium, Izuku could see that his opponent was getting more and more sluggish. The quirk was finally taking its toll on him. Knowing this, he finally spoke up. "You're shivering, aren't you, Todoroki?" Izuku asked. What are you talking about?" Todoroki asked in confusion. But as much as he tried to feint it, he really was taken by surprise at his sudden question. "Your quirk has its limits, doesn't it? So why haven't you used your left side to thaw yourself out?" Izuku asked. Todoroki seemed offended at his proposal, just as he expected. All he needed now was for him to let it out, in the middle of the stadium. All he needed now was the little push. And the dam would break. Izuku fired another large whirlwind at him, which Todoroki blocked with another ice wall, but this time around, due to the weak state of the stadium, some of the debris from the ground was getting blown at him, breaking through his barrier and hitting him directly in the forehead. The ice wall eventually broke and Todoroki was sent flying back, nearly falling out of bounds. "Look at you, beaten up and bloodied, covered in frostbite. Your body's at its limit. So, why haven't you gone all out yet? Thaw yourself out. Douse me in flames. Do something with that left side of yours, Izuku said. What are you planning? Todoroki asked, as he wiped off the blood from his forehead. Look at yourself, Izuku said, running at Todoroki. Stay back, he yelled, as he sent several more ice shards towards his opponent. Izuku parried them easily, without even slowing down, and grabbed Todoroki by the collar and threw him towards the middle. He threw me away from the edge? Why would he do that? Todoroki thought to himself. Suddenly, Izuku hit him with another whirlwind, a much deadlier one. Within the storm, he felt the wind cutting into his flesh. Memories of his mother flooded into his mind, his father beating him up. You're a failure, Shoto, he could hear his father say. Prove to me that you can be useful. How can he be so cruel? I can't take it anymore. He then heard his mother cry out. You sicken me. His memories faded with the face of insanity coming from his mother. As flames completely enveloped her, he couldn't take it anymore. Tears started to stream out of his eyes. Mother was the only one who loved me. My sunshine. Why did you take her away from me, Dad? Todoroki thought, going through an emotional breakdown. You took everything away from me. I'll never be like you. I'll never be like you. Suddenly, a massive glacier sprouted out of the whirlwind, dispelling it. The monolith then came shooting towards Izuku. Oh shit. Before he could finish his sentence, the entire stadium was encased in ice. The crowd went silent. But within the bewildered audience stood a heartbroken father. Seeing him take those hits, unable to fight back, he couldn't help but to feel guilty. After Izuku had opened his eyes, he had realized how terrible he had treated his own son. And now, there, his son stood, on the verge of potential death. All because he had pushed him to the point where he wouldn't use his fire quirk anymore. Izuku isn't winning because of his skill. He was winning because of him. The glacier collapsed, and both competitors were on the ground. Just then, Izuku stood up, lightly bruised. Todoroki, on the other hand, was lying in a pool of blood. His right side had gone purple from the amount of frostbite he had sustained with that attack. Just then, Izuku stood up and yelled out in rage. Is this what you wanted? To lose. You had all the opportunities to defeat me and you chose not to, and for what? Why didn't you fight me at full power? Izuku yelled out. I'll never use it. I'll never be him, Todoroki said weakly as he struggled to get up. Please, Shoto, stop this, Endeavor mumbled while biting his lips. Who's him? Have you been hiding something? Izuku asked. No answer. Well, to whoever you are, if you're even in the audience, I hope you're happy. It's because of you that this poor soul is in this state. I hope you're happy with yourself. I'm not, okay? I've learned my lesson, so please stop. Endeavor thought his tears were streaming down his eyes. Todoroki eventually got up, and slowly limped towards Izuku, trying to punch him. Why are you still trying? Izuku asked, kicking him in the stomach, making him cough out blood. I have to win. I can't let him break me. I'll prove to him that I can win without his parts, Todoroki uttered desperately as he tried to land a punch. I won't lose, even if it kills me. That's enough, yelled a man in the crowd. Suddenly everyone turned to a man in the crowd, yelling at the two competitors in the stadium. No one could even recognize him, as tears were streaming down his face like a waterfall. Please, you've done enough, Shoto. I've learned my mistakes. I'm sorry, the man continued to yell out. Todoroki looked back in awe. Was this really his father? Why did he suddenly care about him? What changed him? Why is he doing this? Regardless, a simple apology can't fix years after years of abuse, so he shook off his apology, pretending that he never heard it. Izuku, on the other hand, heard him loud and clear. So, this is why you didn't want to use your fire quirk, because you wanted to prove your daddy wrong. I thought you wanted to be a hero, Izuku asked. My dad's no hero. He's an abusive, self-centered, delusional asshole posing as a hero. The only hero I want to be like is All Might, Todoroki responded. Endeavor's heart sunk after hearing that. After all this time, the weapon he was building up had actually admired the very man he was designed to surpass. And yet, he couldn't feel any anger, rather sadness. All of his sadness, his problems in life, his despair, he had pawned it off onto his son so that he could escape it. He took the coward's way out instead of confronting his own inner demons. Endeavor's suffering was clear, and Izuku read all of it. His plan had finally fallen into place. Endeavor was now broken, and Todoroki will soon turn to his side, a great victory on his part. However, he had made one fatal mistake. He never thought up of a plan B. Just then, Endeavor's body reignited into flames. The crowd that was staring at him had dropped their jaws at the revelation that the crying, sorry excuse of a man was in fact the number 2 hero, Endeavor. Shoto, I know I've been a terrible father, but please, let my words reach you one last time. Shoto, for once in your life, please listen to what I have to say, he cried out in a deafening roar. You'll never become All Might, he started, immediately making Todoroki look away. But you'll never become me either. Just then, Todoroki's eyes reignited, as Izuku was shocked at Endeavor's sudden action. I wanted to make you strong, but I know that deep down, you're not me. I want you to surpass All Might, but also for you to forge your own identity as well. The man who will surpass All Might will not be named Enji, but Shoto Todoroki. Dad, Todoroki uttered as tears leaked from the corner of his eyes. I have passed down my quirk to you, but not my spirits. Forge your own identity, Shoto. Take those flames and make them your own. You're not bound by my blood, continued the flaming hero. What's going on here? Is this a fight or a TV drama? Yelled President Mike. Just then, Izuku's eyes practically bulged out of their sockets after hearing Enji's next words. It's like All Might once said. Just then, another memory flashed by Todoroki's eyes. It was the first time he saw All Might on TV. He smiled at every word he said, as though they were directed to him, and then those words passed by once more. You are who you decide to become. Suddenly, flames erupted from Todoroki's body, and in a blazing inferno, the ice on his body melted off, and he slowly stood up. I want to be a hero. Standing before Izuku was no longer the tortured, crying Todoroki, but a kid who was truly inspired to win. However, he couldn't just let something like this pass. It was just too surreal. Enji! Izuku yelled out with a smile as wind gathered around him. You've gone and done it. You finally exposed your true self to the world, and threw away that pride you're known for. It's all over for you now. With your secret exposed, the world will know who you really are. You are no longer a hero. He looked over at Endeavor. However, he was crying, but not from sadness, but from pride. Pride in his son. Seeing him smile only pissed him off even more. Fine, smile all you want, you ex-hero, Izuku yelled out, as the clouds above him were swirling around the stadium. You made a wonderful speech and sacrifice. Shame it'll all be in vain, once I pummel your son, even with his fire side unleashed. Suddenly, a tornado fist formed around Izuku's hand, one that would even send All Might flying. The sheer strain the wind was having on his body caused Izuku to cough out blood. Meanwhile, flames erupted from Shoto's body as the air around him caught fire. Seeing this, Midnight and Cementos quickly activated their quirks to minimize the damage. If this hits, they're both done for, thought the refs as they tried to stop the two. The cement walls and sleep gas were not enough to even slow them down, however. As the two attacks clashed, it caused a massive explosion, similar to that of a meteor impact. The crowd was blown away, and even the pro heroes were struggling to stay put. Class A, upon seeing this, were completely speechless. Even Katsuki couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. The power struggle didn't show any signs of stopping, however, and was stronger than ever. Slowly, Izuku was gaining the advantage, as he could feel the bones in Todoroki's arm breaking and blood gushing out. The flames were also making its way towards his left side, as his skin was burning from overusing its quirk. Slowly but surely, the fire was fizzling away, and Todoroki was slowly getting pushed back. It's over, Shoto, give up, Izuku roared, as he was overpowering the flames. I can't. Not yet, Todoroki uttered. I've only started a new chapter in my life. I will not let you tear it down. Suddenly, a massive shock of pain pulsated through Izuku's arms, as blood started gushing out of it. The burn I took from Endeavor. Go beyond, Shoto, Endeavor cried as father and son roared in unison. Plus Ultra. The wind dispelled, as Izuku was swallowed by the flames, causing a massive shockwave that parted the clouds. What's with your class? President Mike asked, knocked off his seat. As Midnight slowly stood up from getting knocked back off her feet, she tried to make out what happened as the smoke cleared. she saw Todoroki, lying unconscious on the ground. His left arm was purple from blood loss and bent in 4 different directions. The entire top half of his uniform was ripped apart, revealing his cut up and bruised but muscular body. "Todoroki has been knocked out," the announcer called out. But, turning to the edge of the arena, Izuku was embedded to the side of the stadium. "Midoriya is out of bounds. Todoroki moves on to the next round." Midoriya lost, Ochako said to herself. However, most of the crowd were more interested in Endeavor's sudden behavior, but when they turned to his seat, he was nowhere to be found. So many of his fans started an outrage, crying over how this festival ruined their image of the stoic and cold badass. As the staff was trying to get the crowd to calm down in the meantime, Endeavor was waiting for his son in the infirmary. "His right arm is in shambles, and the rest of his body isn't looking too good either," explained Recovery Girl. "I'm afraid with these injuries, he might need to forfeit his 3rd match." "It's alright, I understand," replied Endeavor in his civilian clothing. "We'll have to go through surgery soon. I suggest you leave too. I work better when I'm alone," she continued, signaling the fire hero to the exits. Meanwhile, with Izuku, he just walked out of the infirmary. His injuries were less severe compared to Todoroki's, so he healed rather quickly. What he didn't expect, however, was to get ambushed by all of his classmates on his way out. "Mido de Ryaku," they all called out at the exact same time, causing the 2 names to get jumbled up. "Oh, hi guys," answered the almost winner. "What the hell were you doing? There's a riot happening in the stadium. The press are scouting the entire building to interview Endeavor, and all because of your fight against Todoroki," said Ida. "Yeah, you went way too overboard. I heard he nearly died," continued Mineta. "Yeah, sorry, it was my bad." Where's Ochako?" Izuku asked, noticing that she wasn't there. "She got a call from home and went out," explained Momo. "Wait, like outside the stadium?" Izuku asked. "Yeah, why?" "Not good," Izuku mumbled to himself, walking past everyone. "Where are you going?" asked Tsuyu. "I need to do something real quick. I'll be right back," he replied. "Crap, the raid group is gonna come pick me up after their mission. Hopefully I'm not too late," Izuku thought, making a mad dash for the exits. Outside, Sachi was hanging around in the parking lot. After seeing the fight Izuku had with Todoroki, he needed to buy a drink. All that gasping and jaw drops made him thirsty. Just then, he ran into a girl, a young brunette, on her phone crying. Feeling sort of bad, he went up to see what was wrong. Yeah, I understand. Okay, bye, Dad," she said as tears were flowing down her eyes. "Hey, is everything alright, little girl?" asked the guy as he walked up to her after she hung up. Startled, she turned around to see who was talking to her. It was a male, a little bit scrawny, about 6'1", wearing a light brown jacket over a white shirt with a silver chain necklace dangling from his neck, and he was wearing old baggy jeans and a red beanie that covered half of his brown eyes, with a small puff of beard on his chin, and was carrying a backpack. "You were crying. Are you okay? Are you lost?" asked Sachi. "No, it's just family business," Ochako mumbled. "Oh, do tell. It drives me crazy not knowing the reason behind people's pain," Sachi responded. Ochako hesitated for a second, but decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't look like a bad guy, and had a friendly smile that kinda reminded her of Izuku. "An accident happened at my dad's construction company last night, and the workers filing a lawsuit against him. He might go bankrupt," she explained in a somber tone. Suddenly, Sachi's face shifted from helping to concerned, as if her description reminded him of something that happened in his life. "He worked so hard just for me, and yet the man who sued him seemed so aggressive for a mistake he himself made. I'm the only reason he pushes forward. I feel so guilty I can't help." She started crying again. Suddenly, Sachi reached into his backpack and pulled out a huge stack of 10,000 yen, handing it to Ochako. "Here, it may not be much, but it should be enough to pay for all your school fees and basic needs. Now your father won't have to spend all of his savings on you." "It's not much, but it's the least I can do," replied Sachi. "Oh, no thanks. I don't take handouts." She reluctantly pushed away his money, surprised at how much a man like that had and wondering if he didn't just win the lottery. "Oh, it's fine. Take it as a donation," Sachi replied, passing her the money, then getting back upright and walking away. "I can't let such a nice and caring father go through what my dad went through." That last phrase shocked her. What his dad went through. He seemed so sensitive on the subject too. What happened to his dad? Who was he? "Hey, wait, who are you?" asked Ochako. "I don't know. Maybe a civilian, maybe a hero, maybe a villain," he responded. I'm however you decide I am. Ochako was left speechless, as if the man just gave her a riddle. Whoever she decides he was, what does that mean? Todoroki woke up in a hospital bed. Looking around, he saw his dad sitting right next to him. "Dad, what are you doing here?" asked Todoroki. "What does it look like?" "I'm here to apologize," he replied. "Apologize? You did that already, didn't you?" asked Todoroki a second time. "No, not for abusing you as a child. Rather, something else," replied his dad. "What is it?" Just then, Enji got off his chair, groveling on the floor. "I'm sorry for being weak." Uh-huh? Dad, get up and explain. "This isn't like you," Todoroki said, confused. "And would you prefer it if I acted like me?" asked Enji, getting back up. "No, that's not... whatever. What do you mean, being weak?" "So you never found out either. I guess it wasn't due to my stupidity that I failed to realize what I had done," Enji replied. "Which was... I gave up. All my life I tried to surpass All Might. It was what drove me, the reason I became a hero. But when I found out the gap between us was far too wide, I took the coward's way out. Instead of trying to keep up, I stopped chasing, and took out my frustration on my own sons. I pawned one of the most impossible tasks on mere children that had inspirations of their own goals that I neglected. I'm sorry for passing such a heavy burden to you. It must have been hard," continued Enji. Todoroki was speechless. He never even dreamt of the day his dad would be apologizing to him, much less throwing away his own pride while doing so. "I now see how blind I really was, and it pains me to know that losing my first son was not enough to open my eyes," Enji finished. Just then, Todoroki felt something he didn't know was possible. He felt sorry for his dad. Seeing him like this was never something he would have prepared for. "Maybe you haven't forgotten just yet. I fully understand that if you do, but remember, I'm not gonna hold you back anymore. But be the hero you want to be, okay?" Enji finished, as he made his way towards the exit. "Where are you going?" asked Todoroki. "The press has been writing for hours, trying to interview me. I shouldn't let them wait any longer, and we may actually need to send in pro-heroes to break things apart. I'm going down to stop them before they get too violent. It was about time I got the punishment I deserve anyways," Enji said, while opening the door. "Oh, and one more thing, Shoto. Tell me when you're visiting your mother. I might tag along, should they let me go early." And with that, he left the room, softly closing the door. In the meantime, Izuku had finally met up with Sachi. "Hey there, Sachi. I suppose the raid was a success?" asked Izuku. "Yup, info and everything. We got them all on this USB drive." "Sweet," Izuku replied, immediately opening his laptop and plugging in the key to see the contents. As per expected, the list of every hero's and villain's personal information, weaknesses, notable injuries, they were all there. But then, something caught his eye. In the files, there was a classified info pile, and upon opening it, he was met with different non-public events and a list of heroes that retired without public announcements for different reasons. Heroes who do this usually just mysteriously vanish to the public that he knew, but amongst one of the heroes, one made his heart practically stop. In one of the hero files, it read, "Hero name, Storm. Rank 3, age 20, age of retirement 27, quirk psychokinesis." So far, everything was normal, but what shocked him was the hero's true identity. Name, Inko Midoriya. "Mom?" Izuku asked, confused.
愛してる